To understand reality in Vedantic philosophy, we look to a banyan tree standing on the bank of a dark, still lake. The material universe exists as an inverted reflection of an eternal spiritual domain. The medium of material desire perverts that original reality into what Vedantic tradition calls samsara, a distorted projection of the original. This structural map outlines the architecture of Chapter 15, known as Purushottama Yoga. In 20 verses, it synthesizes ontology and the mechanics to escape this reflection. The first tier analyzes the inverted tree, identifying the qualifications a seeker needs for liberation. Understanding this structural inversion serves as the mandatory first step of Vedantic epistemology. We cannot leave a trap without first mapping its architecture. This diagram deconstructs the inverted tree's anatomy. The primary roots at the top represent the supreme origin, while the central trunk corresponds to the secondary creator, Brahma. The sprawling branches extending downward symbolize the planetary systems and diverse species of life. This image captures the ritualistic fire and offerings that characterize the leaves of the tree. These represent the hymns of the Vedas, which sustain material existence by tempting souls with temporary rewards. Living entities situated within these branches find it impossible to perceive the tree's ultimate beginning, its end, or its underlying foundation. The text prescribes a decisive intervention. The practitioner must sever their connection to this tree using the forged weapon of detachment, Asanga-Shastra. Within this framework, cutting the tree requires the systematic withdrawal of psychological attachment to temporal objects and the redirection of consciousness towards its divine source. The second tier of our map shifts the focus from the macro structure of the universe to the embodied soul, or jiva, trapped within it. The primary ontological axiom here is that the soul is an eternal, fragmental part of the Supreme, currently struggling against the mind and the five senses. Transmigration occurs when the subtle body, the mind, intelligence, and ego, detaches from one physical vessel and carries accumulated desires into the next. This transference of karmic impressions operates like the air carrying volatile aromas from their source to a new location. While the deluded are blind to this movement, the disciplined practitioner perceives this subtle reality using the eye of knowledge, or jnana chakshu. The text concludes that human identity remains distinct from its temporary physical vehicle, and academic study fails to reveal this without moral purification. The third tier of the map explains how divine infrastructure actively sustains the soul. Macrocosmic immanence identifies divine energy as the power behind solar radiance and lunar illumination. Planetary orbital stability results from divine power actively entering these bodies to maintain gravitational force, a departure from the concept of autonomous mechanical clockwork. This zoom on the moon highlights its specific function in the text, transforming into moisture, or soma, to nourish all plant life with essential juices. From this perspective, the laws of physics are continuous, deliberate expressions of a maintaining divine will. Divine energy also operates at the microcosmic level, residing inside human biology as the gastric fire, known as Vaishvanara. This internal fire metabolizes food by working in harmony with the incoming and outgoing life breaths, the prana and apana. This table breaks down the 4 categories of ingested food metabolized by this fire, starting with those that are chewed and those that are swallowed. It completes the breakdown with foods that are licked, like honey, and those that are sucked, like sugarcane. This eminence extends to cognitive psychology. Memory, experiential knowledge, and necessary forgetfulness are all governed by the indwelling monitor. Chapter 15 transforms basic biological survival into a consecrated act of devotion, framing human autonomy as a state reliant on divine grace. The final tier of our map is known as the Trishloki Gita, a section that synthesizes all Vedantic teaching into a tripartite categorization of reality. These ancient Sanskrit verses define the core of Hindu metaphysics. This framework begins with the pyramid's base, the perishable, or kshara, encompassing all embodied souls and matter undergoing constant change. Above sits the middle tier, the imperishable, or akshara, comprising liberated entities and the eternal spiritual realm. This structure raises a question. If reality is divided between a fallible material world and an infallible spiritual realm. Is achieving formless, imperishable existence the absolute goal of Vedanta? The text resolves this by introducing the apex, Purushottama, the Supreme Person. This entity sits entirely distinct from the perishable and the imperishable, entering and sustaining all worlds. The exact nature of the Supreme Person is a point of divergence. Schools like Advaita Vedanta view Purushottama as formless Brahman, while Vaishnava schools describe a supreme personal deity. Gaudiya Vaishnavism posits Purushottama as a distinct, eternal supreme personality superior to both impersonal Brahman and individual souls. The chapter offers an epistemological promise. Those who understand this tripartite truth become the knowers of everything. The realization of Purushottama naturally compels the seeker to transition from analytical study to full devotional service, or bhakti yoga. Charting the cosmological tree and identifying the divine mechanisms of biology leads to a specific conclusion. The study of philosophical intelligence finds its fulfillment in conscious surrender.